Good evening everyone, welcome to Bajirao IAS Academy, the Hindu News Analysis. Today is 28th January 2025. Today we have some important articles from the Hindu newspaper. So along with all these articles, we also have one mains practice question. And this practice question is from Science and Technology portion of General Studies paper 3. And in fact, science and technology is also one of the very important area where you could expect at least 3 to 4 questions every year, right? So within science and technology, ISRO is a very important because of its a recent progress that ISRO has made in different arenas, whether it is Chandrayaan mission, whether it is Gaganyaan program, or different other areas. So let's try to discuss that particular question. The question is, through a combination of technical improvements, rigorous testing, and a successful launches, ISRO managed to change the GSLV's image from a naughty boy to a disciplined and reliable launch vehicle. So in this context, discuss the evolution of GSLV technology. Right? So why this particular question that we are asking today? We are asking today because on January 29 this month, ISRO is going to conduct its 100th launch, right? So this is GSLV F-15. So through GSLV F-15, ISRO is going to launch NVS-02 satellite, right? So it is going to launch NVS-02 satellite through GSLV F-15. So this is considered as 100th launch of Indian Space Research Organization. And in this context, it is important for us to understand about the geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle. And in fact, this geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle is also considered as naughty boy, right? So this is also considered as naughty boy. However, Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle of ISRO is considered as the workhorse of ISRO. So this is workhorse of ISRO. In fact, PSLV is considered as workhorse of ISRO because of its massive success rate. Because of that particular reason, it is considered as workhorse of ISRO. But on the other hand, GSLV's a launch vehicle, still it has been facing failures. So till now, ISRO has conducted around 20 GSLV launches, and within 20 GSLV launches, there are 4 failure GSLV missions. And the failure rate is still a very high. So therefore, it is being said that GSLV, Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle, through a combination of technical improvements, rigorous testing, and successful launches, ISRO has managed to turn the image of geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle as naughty boy into a most reliable launch vehicle, right? So in this context, we will discuss the evolution of GSLV technology by ISRO. Now on this image, you could actually see major milestones that are being achieved by ISRO. For example, at first, in the year 1963, first ever rocket has been launched, and 1969, ISRO was formed. 1975, launch of India's first satellite, Aryabhatta, and in fact, Aryabhatta is considered as India's first satellite. And in the year 1980, first successful satellite launch vehicle, SLV-3 has been developed, and in the year 1984, Rakesh Sharma becomes India's first Indian to enter into space, or first Indian in space. And in the year 2006, Chandrayaan 1, so that is the first mission to moon. And in the year 2013, Mangalyaan, so that is India's first successful mission to Mars. And again in 2017, we have launched 104 satellites in one single mission. And Chandrayaan 2 was conducted in the year 2019, and 2023 we have also conducted Chandrayaan 3. Now apart from that, we also have several ambitious space missions such as Gaganyaan. And we would develop international space station by 2035, and we would also have India's first human being. We will also send Indians to moon by the year 2045 as well. So these are some ambitious plans that India actually has, or ISRO has, as part of its missions. Now, in the introduction itself, you should briefly introduce what is geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle. And in fact, this geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle is one of its distinguishing features is that its cryogenic upper stage. So it has a cryogenic upper stage, and this cryogenic upper stage uses liquid hydrogen as a fuel and liquid oxygen as an oxidizer. And GSLV is a launch vehicle, and GSLV is being used to launch heavy weight communication satellites. And in fact, cryogenic engines are considered as technologically more and more complex due to extremely low temperatures, right? So in fact, the cryogenic engines actually require extremely low temperatures they require, so that will help maintain the propellants in the liquid form. So we'll understand the composition of geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle. Now, what is the composition of GSLV? So GSLV is a 3-stage launch vehicle, right? A 3-stage launch vehicle, right? So in fact, it has 3 stages. In the first phase, so it is known as GS1, it has a solid propellant motor and 4 earth storable propellant stages. And in fact, this earth storable propellant stages include supporting structure, propellant tanks, and an engine as well. And the second stage of this GSLV is also an earth storable propellant stage as well. And third stage involves the cryogenic engine, right? So it is also called as cryogenic upper stage. Cryogenic upper stage, right? And in fact, with the propellant loading of liquid oxygen and also liquid hydrogen. Now here, liquid hydrogen is being used as an oxidizer, and liquid oxygen, so liquid oxygen is being used as an oxidizer, and liquid hydrogen is being used as a fuel, right? So this is the composition of geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle. Now, in fact, when we talk about this geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle, it has a mixed track record. So mixed track record in the sense that GSLV has had a mixed track record with several successful launches and also some failures as well, right? So failures of geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle can be essentially attributed to various technical complexities that involves particularly the upper cryogenic engine stage. And in fact, as of now, GSLV has been launched for more than 20 times, and within 20 times GSLV has faced 4 failures, or 4 times it has been unsuccessful. And in fact, it is a very high failure rate for any rocket, and that is why it is very complex and technologically challenging for the ISRO. However, so communication satellites are they are heavy in weight, and to launch communication satellites we require GSLV launch vehicles, because GSLV launch vehicles could carry heavyweight communication satellites into Earth orbit. So GSLV's most recent failure was in August 2021, when it was attempting to carry on Earth observation satellite EOS-03 into the space. However, 5 minutes into the flight, so it deviated from the scheduled trajectory. For example, if it is the scheduled trajectory, it has got deviated from the scheduled trajectory, and that eventually lost the power to carry on and fell somewhere in the Andaman Sea. And in fact, its problems have mainly been with the cryogenic engine. So the main problem with the GSLV satellite launch vehicle and its high failure rate is because of the cryogenic upper stage. And in fact, the geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle uses a cryogenic engine that is reverse engineered from the Russian design. So in the sense that earlier during 1980s, we have had an agreement with Russia, USSR, to supply cryogenic engine to India, right? So we have no cryogenic engine, but after the fall of Soviet Union, due to American pressure, Soviet Union did not sold us the cryogenic engine as per the agreement. So therefore, we have developed our own cryogenic engine. This is a reverse engineered model of Russian cryogenic engine design. And in fact, geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle missions are considered as crucial and a very important missions for India, because they carry communication satellites into space, and they play a very important role in the deployment of these communication satellites, thereby enhancing countries' infrastructure in telecommunications, broadcasting, broadband, and even the satellite-based navigation as well. So these are the benefits and the advantages of the geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle. However, with rapid technological advancements, demonstration of various technologies by ISRO, it is also expected that ISRO would over a period of time would further improve and refine the existing GSLV rockets, thereby substantially reducing the failure rate of these rockets. And at the same time, India could also become a reliable place where the private satellites could be launched, communication satellites could be launched into the space. And that's how India could become a major space power, right? So we have discussed about this particular question, and let's discuss some article which are given in the Hindu newspaper. The first article is Union Budget to Shape Climate Action. Now, Union government is going to present the budget in the parliament. Now, in this context, this Union budget, how it is going to shape climate action. Now, climate action in the sense that we have several ambitious goals, and it is very important for us to meet those goals. So one such very important goal is India should become net zero by 2070. And apart from that, we also aimed to achieve 50% of our total energy is being produced from the non-fossil fuels. And in fact, we also aimed to generate 500 gigawatt of electricity or energy from the renewable sources of energy, renewable resources, right? So we have several such ambitious goals. And apart from that, we would like to promote renewable energy. And apart from promoting renewable energy, we also focuses on resilient infrastructure creation or resilient infrastructure building. For example, at the international level, with respect to renewable energy, India launched International Solar Alliance, and for resilient infrastructure building, we have launched Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, and also a program called IRIS, Infrastructure Resilience for Small Island States. Right? So these initiatives would benefit the developing countries and the small island nations as well. And in fact, see, if you look at the impact of climate change on India, so India is a country which has been facing the worst impact of the climate change. For example, increasing intensity of heat wave, so heat wave intensity that we have seen, and urban floods is also another major challenge that we have been facing, and drought like conditions in different parts of India, and that has been creating agri distress or agrarian distress, right? So this could be another major challenge due to climate change. And rising sea surface or rising sea surface temperatures and submergence of coastal areas, flooding of coastal lands, and floods in general, landslides that we have experienced, landslides. Example, in Kerala we have experienced landslides because of climate change. So India has been facing such numerous challenges. So therefore, India needs to focus on appropriate climate action, and how union budget could shape India's climate action. We'll try to understand this. So union budget for the financial year 26 is considered as crucial. It is considered as very important because it comes at a time when India is under pressure to meet its climate commitments. So these are some of the climate commitments that we have, and India has also been facing enormous pressure from the international community, from within also, to meet its climate commitments. And in fact, India has been started facing extreme weather events. For example, increasing intensity and frequency of heat waves, urban floods, drought-like conditions, landslides. So all these are considered as extreme weather events. And we also aimed to reach net zero or becoming net zero by the year 2030, so 2070 as well, right? So we wanted to become net zero emission by the year 2070. So this budget must take a decisive action in addressing climate adaptation and mitigation, right? So this is what the authors have been pointing out towards the budget. And so what are the key priorities for climate action in this budget? Now we all knew that Union government has launched PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. And in fact, the objective of PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana is installation of rooftop solar panels so that 1 crore individuals would get free electricity or free of cost electricity, or they could substantially reduce their electricity bill as well. So therefore, the first focus of the budget is that the budget could be able to address the gaps that are existing in the implementation of PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. So therefore, in order to address the gaps, the government or the union budget must focus on innovative financing models such as renewable energy service company model that would help reducing upfront costs for lower income households. However, to meet the rising demand for the solar energy, budget should expand production linked incentive, right? So budget has to expand the production linked incentive scheme across solar module supply chain, boosting domestic manufacturing and also reducing high costs of domestically produced panels as well. So that is a very important if we wanted to expand or if we wanted to produce more and more electricity from the solar energy, or if we wanted to produce more and more solar energy. And in fact, Indian Railways also offer a unique opportunity to generate renewable energy through solar and wind installations on its vast land banks and track corridors. And in fact, budget should actually incentivize the public private partnerships, because public private partnerships have a huge potential to unlock the clean energy generation, because the private sector have the necessary capital, they have the necessary technology, and apart from that they also have managerial capacities, and it also plays a very important role in substantially reducing the energy production cost as well. Energy production cost. So because of all these different reasons, it is important to incentivize the public private partnership as well. However, it is very important that we must address global climate challenges, because climate change is not a regional phenomenon, it is a global phenomenon. So therefore, the entire world needs to come together, and it requires a collective action from all countries. So we all knew that, we have also discussed about the carbon border adjustment mechanism. Now, what exactly is this carbon border adjustment mechanism? So this is the mechanism that the European Union has been imposed. European Union has imposed this carbon border adjustment mechanism on the products of other countries, where those products are being produced using either energy intensive or the carbon intensive methods, energy intensive and carbon intensive methods. For example, imagine that India produces steel. India produces steel. However, production of steel in India is considered as both energy intensive as well as carbon intensive. However, whatever steel that India has produced, India will not consume all the steel. So some portion of the steel would also be exported to countries in Europe, right? So particularly to countries in European Union. So if we wanted to export steel to countries in European Union, first we need to pay carbon tax, right? So it is mandated that these energy intensive and carbon intensive commodities or items, when they are enter into the European Union markets, they need to pay carbon tax. So that is how they are actually ensuring that, because see, they have imposed certain restrictions or regulations with respect to emissions on their domestic industries. So therefore their domestic industries make a transition into either a renewable energy based production of steel, firstly, and secondly they may produce they may invest in energy efficiency. So therefore it is capital intensive and the production cost would substantially increase. So that would impact the competitiveness of European Union products when it comes to the products which are produced from energy intensive and carbon intensive methods from other countries. So in order to balance in order to ensure the competitiveness between the European Union industries and the foreign industries, so European Union has come up with this carbon border adjustment mechanism. However, countries like India and many other developing countries have been opposing this carbon border adjustment mechanism. Why? Because we have no technology as of now, and the developed world is also reluctant to share finances as well. And because of all these different reasons, Indian industries are not able to make a transition into a low carbon, high energy efficiency methods, and this has been creating new challenges as well. And that's why India has been opposing this carbon budget border adjustment mechanism. However, budget should actually establish a climate action fund. It is being suggested that there should be a climate action fund. So this climate action fund has to be established to help micro, small and medium enterprises to gradually decarbonize and also comply with the carbon border adjustment mechanism, so thereby ensuring that India's export competitiveness maintained and it will not get impacted. However, it is also suggested that budget should incentivize the investments in recycling and refurbishment technologies, particularly the circular economy. So circular economy investments must be incentivized by the budget. Incentivization in the sense that providing tax benefits and also accelerated depreciation as well. However, a dedicated sovereign green bond framework for circular economy and infrastructure could significantly boost economic gains while reducing the emissions. So the other problem that India has been facing is that we have a low insurance penetration. So insurance is India's insurance penetration is very poor. So therefore it requires urgent attention, and budget could actually offer tax reductions, incentives to the insurers on income from the climate related or climate linked policies, so that the insurance companies come forward, and that will help in enhancing the insurance penetration in India. So the government should also advocate for lower GST on premiums for insurance products, so those insurance products which focuses on climate resilience and the disaster protection as well. And in fact, so climate finance and institutional infrastructure and capacity building are the areas that have to be essentially focused. And in fact, it is said that budget should allocate funds to establish the necessary institutional as well as the technical infrastructure. And the institutional and technical infrastructure will play a very important role in implementation of a climate finance taxonomy. And apart from that, this would also help align India's financial market with a global sustainability metrics and also improves the investor confidence as well. And even budget should actually introduce a differential tax treatments for investments, those investments which actually align with green finance criteria, incentivizing private sector investments in the climate friendly projects. And in fact, budget should actually categorize the government spending in alignment with the green criteria. Okay, so these are certain benefits that the certain measures that the budget could actually consider or take into consideration in order to promote the climate action on the part of India. Budget should actually categorize government spending in alignment with the green criteria and also ensuring fiscal allocations contribute towards achieving India's net zero targets. Right, it plays a very important role in ensuring net zero targets and also a climate resilient goals as well. So next topic, yesterday also we have discussed about India-China relations. However, in fact, the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri has met Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Beijing on Monday. Now, several outcomes have been, several outcomes of this particular meeting between Chinese Foreign Minister and Indian Foreign Secretary have been given here, and we will discuss those outcomes and what are the problems or the challenges that India and China have been facing when it comes to the bilateral relations, and how they could actually further improve, strengthen their bilateral relations. And the context is that after 3 months of regular negotiations, India and China have agreed for a concrete measures to resume direct flights, visas, number of exchanges, and also the Manas Sarovar Yatra for the pilgrims this summer. So these are some of the major outcomes of the meeting between India's Foreign Secretary and the Chinese Foreign Minister. And in fact, both these countries at the high level have agreed to resume dialogue on trans-border rivers, particularly the Brahmaputra River, and also sharing hydrological data that China has withheld, or China has not been sharing the hydrological data for years for rivers like Brahmaputra. Right? So what are the key agreements and initiatives of this particular meeting between India and China? So during this high level meetings, both nations have agreed on several initiatives. So those initiatives which aimed at rebuilding trust and also further enhancing the collaboration between these two countries. So resumption of Kailash Manas Sarovar Yatra is an area of special focus between the between the meeting, the outcome of the meeting between Foreign Secretary of India and also the Foreign Minister of China, and it is going to be scheduled, this Kailash Manas Sarovar Yatra is going to be scheduled in 2025, and this pilgrimage holds a significant cultural and religious importance for Indian devotees. And apart from that, direct flights and visa services so is another area that has been deliberated upon, because either there is an absence of direct flights or there are a very less number of direct flights between India and China, and that would substantially impact the people to people ties, trade, commerce as well. Now in fact, both India and China have committed to restore air connectivity between major cities and also facilitating visas for media, think tanks, and also the business representatives as well. And in fact, China has also agreed for sharing the hydrological data, and it is considered as a very important component of bilateral relations between India and China, because the dialogues will resume under India-China expert level mechanism to discuss data sharing on transborder rivers, critical issues for the downstream water management as well. So recently, China has been planning to build one of the largest dam on the upper reaches of the Brahmaputra River in Tibet. So that is certainly going to be a concern for India, because it could alter the ecological flows of water, and China could use the water for the geopolitical reasons, and it could create drought-like conditions in the lower reaches or downstream, and it could also create floods as well. And in fact, so when we talk about India and China trade, the bilateral trade in terms of volume has reached $125 billion in the year 2023. However, tensions between these two countries still persist, and in fact there are a lot of restrictions which are being imposed by both countries when it comes to bilateral trade and commerce. But one major concern within the bilateral trade is that India has a huge trade deficit with China. So India has a huge trade deficit with China, and India has also been planning to reduce its dependence on China as well. And in fact, India already expressed its concerns over China's curbs on pharmaceutical and high-level exports. Right? So China has been importing certain curbs on India's exports of pharmaceutical and other high-tech exports to China, and China has also raised issues regarding India's investment policies and also the regulatory regulatory hurdles for the Chinese businesses. So these are the mutual concerns that these two countries have been facing. So however, as part of the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations between India and China, right, so this is going to be the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations between these two countries. So both countries plan to organize cultural events, media exchanges, and also academic collaborations. So these initiatives aim to restore mutual trust and also foster deeper understanding among the citizens as well, and that will help further strengthen people to people ties. However, what are the challenges in bilateral relations? So we'll try to understand the challenges as well in bilateral relations. And in fact, the agreements mark a positive step, but there are several challenges still remain between these two countries with respect to line of actual control, disengagement of the troops is also another major challenge. However, November 26 disengagement of troops has taken place from most of the friction points. Okay, so the LAC dispute and unresolved de-escalation measures continue to strain the relations between India and China, and there is also a huge trade deficit between India and China also. That is also one of the key concern, and there existing a strategic distrust between India and China because historical tensions and competing geopolitical interests in the Indo-Pacific region, and that has also been contributing to the mutual suspicion of India and China against each other. And there are certain economic barriers such as trade imbalances, protectionist policies. So these trade imbalances, protectionist policies, sanitary and phytosanitary measures could hinder the seamless economic collaboration between India and China. However, it is expected that both nations should overcome their differences and they should start collaborating with each other, finding out a common platform, finding out a common ground, and that is in the benefit of both these countries, India and China. And next article is Uttarakhand is the first Indian state to adopt the Uniform Civil Code. Now when we talk about the Uniform Civil Code, Indian Constitution Article 44 talks about the Uniform Civil Code. So Indian Constitution has directed the government to implement the Uniform Civil Code across the country. However, Uttarakhand becomes the first state in India to implement the Uniform Civil Code, right? So Uttarakhand government has officially started implementing Uniform Civil Code from January 27, 2025, thereby making it the first Indian state to adopt Uniform Civil Code after independence. And in fact, the Uniform Civil Code that excludes scheduled tribes, and it also excludes natives of Uttarakhand, but they have migrated out of the state. So both STs plus those people who are migrated out of the state are being excluded from the ambit of the Uniform Civil Code of Uttarakhand. And in fact, this UCC bill has been passed by the Uttarakhand State Legislative Assembly on February 2024. So we will understand some important provisions of this Uttarakhand Uniform Civil Code, but first will I try to understand what exactly is Uniform Civil Code. So Uniform Civil Code is a law that seeks to establish a common set of legal provisions for all citizens regardless of their religion and community. So there will be a one single uniform or a common set of legal provisions that are existing for all citizens regardless of their religion, regardless of their community. And in fact, Uniform Civil Code will standardize marriage, divorce, inheritance, property rights, as well as the adoption laws as well. And in fact, Uniform Civil Code is very important because it will help fight child marriages. It will help fight polygamy. And apart from polygamy, child marriages, and triple talaq practice, triple talaq practice, and even halala as well. So because of this particular reason, so uniform civil code has to be implemented, because it concerns with equal rights for the woman, equal rights for women, or protection of rights of women, right? So uniform civil code would deal with personal matters like marriage, divorce, inheritance, property rights, and even the adoption laws as well. Now, what are the highlights of the Uttarakhand uniform civil code? So uniform civil code is considered as a constitutional method because Article 44 of the Indian Constitution specifically talks about the uniform civil code, and this aims to eliminate discrimination and also ensures women empowerment, protection of women rights as well. And in fact, uniform civil code would certainly promote equality, particularly the gender equality, and it prohibit or prevent discrimination or exploitation of women or any other based on gender, caste, or religion. And in fact, scheduled tribes who are being defined under Article 342 of the Indian Constitution have been exempted from the ambit of Uttarakhand Uniform Civil Code to protect their particular rights, cultural rights, traditional rights, customary rights. So in order to protect their rights, scheduled tribes are excluded from the ambit of uniform civil code. However, Uttarakhand Uniform Civil Code has banned certain practices such as halala, iddat, triple talaq among Muslims, and apart from that, it expected to ensure equal property rights for the woman as well as the inheritance rights as well, so thereby ensuring adequate rights for the woman. And in fact, it has also prohibited polygamy, a practice of marrying more than one woman, and it also prohibits child marriage as well as triple talaq. And in fact, this uniform civil code of the state of Uttarakhand recognizes children of couple of live-in relationship as a legitimate couple, granting them equal inheritance rights as well. So thereby it also protects the children of live-in couple who are not formally married. And in fact, those children are also considered as legitimate children, and it grants them equal inheritance, so thereby protecting child rights by ensuring legitimacy. And in fact, marriages that took place since 2010 must be registered within 6 months. For that particular reason, a portal has been provided by the Uttarakhand state government, and new marriages should be registered within 60 days of the marriage. And apart from that, it introduced a mandatory registration of couple who are aged 21 and above, who wanted to live together, particularly with respect to live-in couple who are above 21 years or above age. So they have to be registered, mandatorily registered. However, parental consent is required for the live-in couple if they are under 21 years of age. And in fact, this will be applicable for Uttarakhand residents, including those who are in live-in relationships outside the state as well. And in fact, it has also provided certain housing rights as well. It says that landlords cannot deny housing for a registered live-in couples, whether those couple who are above 21, those couple who are under 21 as well. So these are some key features or salient features of Uttarakhand Uniform Civil Code, right? So that's all in this lecture, and thank you so much. So if you like our work, please subscribe our YouTube channel and also hit the like button. Thank you.